Welcome to the Rundown Podcast. My name is Abe Higgs, joined by my main man, Dylan Kearns. We are back better than ever. Dylan, we are now in the dog days of August, the dog days of the MLB season. But to us, everything's heating up. We're going to get into a lot today. MVP talk, number one prospect talk, underwhelming players. We're going to get all into it. But first off, Dylan, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Like you said, dog days of August. I think a lot of people, I wouldn't say just casual baseball fans. I'd say even baseball fans in general. They're looking forward to the NFL season coming up. So like there's college football starting at the end of this month. There's a lot of things going on that this time of year, the weather you're starting to feel the effects of August and the heat. You're like, all right, maybe I'm a little tired of it. And then maybe the cool comes a little bit with the fall. But that just means fall baseball is coming too. So lots to look forward to in terms of the postseason. I'm sure we'll do a deep dive here in the coming weeks about our expectations for the playoffs. But right now we're talking MVP and some players that may have a second thoughts about where their career is headed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Before we get right into all that, we just want to shout out our sponsor right quick, Spiders Batting Gloves. Go check them out, spidersbattinggloves.com. They have amazing stuff. Great equipment, great batting gloves. Dylan and I have a few pairs ourselves. Next time we're on the show, we'll have to bring them and show them to you guys. And maybe in the future, we'll partner up with a giveaway. But go check them out. Get 15% off using the code rundown15 at spidersbattinggloves.com. All right. All right. Well, with that being said, let's get right into the show here. The AL MVP race is a heater. The AL MVP race is currently a two-man race between Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt Jr. These guys have been phenomenal all year long, and it would be a shame that one of these guys at the end of the year won't have this title by their name this year. So with that being said, Dylan, who is your MVP currently in the AL?
This is such a hard conversation. And I know that's why we brought it up and led with it in our show today. I mean, this is tough. Can we do a 1A and 1B? Because these guys deserve it. Like,
I know,
Bobby
right?
is hitting 344. He's got 20 home runs, and he's stealing bags. Judge, on the other hand, leading the league in home runs, which he did in both of his, one of his MVP seasons and another one that Altuve kind of snatched from him. But I think looking at it, it's such a hard conversation. If the season ended today, I would give the award to Bobby Witt Jr. And the reason is because, listen to me. Bobby Witt is on the Kansas City Royals. And sure, they've had some expectations. Some people had some hype around him coming into the year. But until you see it, you can't believe it. And Bobby Witt is the only reason this team is firing right now. I know you've had strong pitching contributions from Reagans and Lugo and other pieces in that. But Witt is the lifeblood of that ball club. And without him, that team is probably 15, 20 games under 500. And I guess you could say the same about Aaron Judge over there. But the Yankees always find a way to at least be competitive each year. And I think with Soto and with the pieces they have there, I think the Yankees were better off coming into the year where if Aaron Judge wasn't there, I think they still would have found a way to win baseball games. I don't think the same is the case for the Royals. So I'm going to lean Bobby Witt here because he is the most valuable player in his situation. But then again, if the tables were turned and Judge was a Royal, I think you could say the same thing.
Yeah, this is such a tough decision. I'm glad we have two more months of baseball to figure this out. But with that argument, you could also – Aaron Judge could have used that in 2017 with that Yankees, the Baby Bombers team. They were not as good as the Astros, But the Astros, they had Jose Altuve. The team was better. Jose Altuve ended up winning the MVP in 2017. So this is a toss-up. This is definitely a toss-up. But for me, Aaron Judge is the MVP. Judge is the better hitter all around. I know Witt is hitting for the highest average in baseball. He has a lot of steals. But the impact of Judge's power far outweighs Bobby Witt Jr. at the plate. Not discrediting Bobby Witt Jr. at all. Judge leads the league in home runs. He can end up with 60 home runs again this year. He leads the league in OPS. He is slugging 76 points higher than the guy behind him, and that guy is Shohei Ohtani. Judge has been pure dominant at the plate. And once again, I am not discrediting Bobby Witt Jr., but Aaron Judge, to me, has been on another level this year.
Just imagine if you took away his April. He started the year like those first.
April was taken away. He didn't have an April.
I know.
April was awful.
What I'm saying is, if he had another month of baseball, you're looking at the greatest season of all time, because like he came out struggling. It's not like we were like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with Aaron Judge? We're like, all right, he's not right. Like it took him a solid 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month, just to get his feet wet and then blast off. He has been on an other world.
Yeah, that's the wild part about it. His April was so bad. But like I said, I'm so glad we have 2 more months of baseball to figure this out. I really like Bobby Witt Jr., man. He's currently hitting 344. That's the last time I checked today. But you know who's third in all of baseball in average? Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is hitting well too, you know?
That's his best average he's hit for in a year. And there's still 2 months, but still.
Right, a 6'7" guy hitting almost 330 with over 40 bombs. It's otherworldly. It's otherworldly. That's why he's my current MVP. And I wish this could be a 1A, 1B. Seriously.
I mean, can we let's take a moment. Let's take a back seat here and look at the two. Like, obviously, Judge is a popular pick and one that you would expect coming into the year. But let's give Bobby Witt his credit here. Just to be in this race. Like, we knew he was a solid ball player. Like, he stole 49 bags last year, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 49 bags. He had 30 homers and 319. Like, he was solid. Like, he's been solid for a couple of years now, and he's just, like, this is a young, budding superstar. And I know a couple of years ago, Patrick Mahomes, of course, he's a little bit of an owner of the Royals, said he would take Bobby Witt over any shortstop in the league. And at the time, you're like, all right, he's just playing it. But now you're going to actually raise that question, because Bobby Witt is probably the best shortstop in baseball.
Yeah, no doubt. He's definitely living up. They just gave him a monster contract. He's definitely living up to the expectations of being a number 1 pick. And I can't wait to see the rest of this season, how it plays out in the rest of his career. But transitioning from a number 1 pick who is the number 1 overall prospect at one point to another number 1 overall pick who is currently the number overall prospect, Jackson Holliday. Jackson Holliday just got called up on July 31st, and he's back for vengeance. Since being called up on July 31st, Dylan, he's batting 400, slugging 900, 3 home runs. And if he continues to play like the number 1 prospect that we know, the Orioles won't be a fun team to face.
Can we just
we're gonna lock in here?
We'll just take a second and reflect on this. You said what about Jackson Holliday? 400 since the call up?
Yes.
And you wanted him traded last week to the Tigers? This is exactly why you wanted to get rid of Jackson Holliday. You wrote him off. I
didn't write him off. I didn't write him off.
You wrote off Jackson Holliday.
These are two totally different viewpoints here, right?
Brought up okay.
No. My take last week was from the Orioles' perspective. I'm saying Orioles, if you want to win a World Series, pitching wins your World Series. That's what I was saying.
They have it.
Do they have enough?
They have another impact bat that's going to get them. They have an impact bat for 7 years of control that is a superstar in the making. But here's where I disagree with you when you come to this.
Okay.
Because if I would have not have given you any dump today if you didn't bring up the fact that he hit 032 when he got called up. Or 059, whatever it was. He hit under 100 when he got called up the first time. That was in your argument of why they should have traded him to the Tigers.
I don't think that was not in my argument.
I watched the clip today to make sure that I'm coming at it straight. You said, and he came up and struggled a bit, so you don't know what you're getting.
You sure I said that?
You said they're all prospects, and people prospect hug. That's what you said.
People prospect hug, yes.
It's different when you have a superstar.
You think he's going to be a superstar?
Yes.
We haven't seen it yet.
I said it last week.
All right.
I shook my head when you said bring him up for Scooble. I shook my head. There's no way.
I don't think it's an outrageous move if you want to win a World Series. And since we want to roll back the tape, let's roll back the tape to when Jackson Holliday got sent down and you weren't a believer in him getting sent down. You were pissed off at the Orioles. But you know what I said? I said this would be good for Jackson Holliday. I said this would be fantastic for Jackson Holliday. You didn't say that? You didn't say it. I know I said that. And I got proof.
I was mad at how they handled the whole situation.
Exactly. Let's run the tape here. As you stated earlier, I would do exactly what the Orioles did. As you stated earlier, if your prospect, especially a top prospect, is balling out in the minor leagues, he deserves to be given a shot at the big leagues. If you believe a guy is ready to help your ball club today, call him up. And if he doesn't perform, send him back to the minor leagues until you believe he got his mind right and is ready to come back up. The Baltimore Orioles handled Jackson Holliday perfectly. Let me finish. He was tearing up AAA, got called up, and wasn't very good. I'm being generous in my explanation of his brief MLB performance. Holliday only had 2 hits and 34 ABs with 18 strikeouts. Maybe the pressure got to him. Maybe MLB pitching was way ahead than what he faced in AAA. Regardless, he didn't perform. Send him back to the minor leagues to figure it out. I think Jackson Holliday is a phenomenal player. I always have thought that. My take last week was strictly from the Orioles' perspective. I was saying and thinking that, hey, the Orioles could use a pitcher, a shutdown, start game 1 or game 7 of a World Series and help you win a World Series. That was my thought process. None of that was to discredit Jackson Holliday at all.
I'll give you that. And I think we both see it from the same angle, but we're dancing around it a little bit. Here was my perspective on why they shouldn't have sent him down. I don't disagree that if a guy struggles, you send him down. I don't disagree with that. I was more upset with the way they handled him. Like, they benched him against lefties when he saw him every day in AAA. They pinch hit for him in certain situations that he wouldn't have been pinch hit for in AAA. Like, if you're going to bring a kid up, bring him up and play him. Like, don't sit him on the bench, play him here and there. You got to play him every day. And I don't think they truly believe that because they had so much depth. They had Westberg going off at second base. They had enough depth on that team that they didn't need that every single day. So I see where they were coming from, but it still made me upset that they didn't handle it that way. So that's where my frustration set in. And on your take, I don't disagree with saying that Holliday could have been moved for a pitcher. I see your perspective of wanting to win now, but you also got to understand if Skubal comes over and you don't win, that's going to be something that you're biting for years. Like you're going to be known as the GM that gave up Jackson Holliday.
That's how you're right. That's how a GM gets fired. I do agree. That's a risk.
That's a move that gets you fired. Like you got an egg on your head when you walk into every room from the rest of your life. It's like, oh, that's the guy who traded Holliday. Like there's always going to be something there. So I mean, when it's a budding prospect like that, yes, I think there was a move to be made they could have done. I think they should have gotten more pitching. But I don't think Holliday should have ever been in trade talks because, once again, he's proven that he's a great ball player right now.
Yeah. So with that being said, do you think Jackson Holliday, like he's here to stay? Is this just a hot start, or this is who Jackson Holliday is? This is what we all saw with him in the minor leagues.
He's a star. Yeah. He's a good ball player, and I think maybe it did give him time, but I still disagree. I don't know what he needed to work on in AAA because he mashed down there and didn't at the majors.
I think it was mental. It was mental. He's young. How old is he? 20, 21?
Yeah, he's under 22, that's for sure.
So, I mean, think about all that hype he had coming up in May. Like you're starting off in Fenway. That was his first start, right? In Fenway? Yeah. Like that's going to get to a kid's head for sure. And I don't.
20.
He's 20. Yeah. I mean, that dude's young, really young. So I definitely understand why they sent him down. I understand your perspective on why they shouldn't send him down. I understand why they held on to him because he's showing off some power and he's going to play in a big role for this team, for the Orioles team for a long time. And I don't like seeing that or saying that as a Yankees fan because I got to see him 10 times a year. You know, it's not going to be fun. But I am pretty excited to see what Jackson Holliday can do the rest of the season. For sure.
It'll be exciting.
Yeah. All right, moving on to next segment. Underwhelming. There's been some guys around the league that this year have shockingly been poor, playing in the field, at the plate. And we're going to break them down. Starting off with Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette of the Toronto Blue Jays. What is going on with Bo Bichette?
I think, dude, this is like, you could say any player had like a down year and you're like, all right, here and there. But Bichette, like, I've known this guy for years now, 8 to 9 years. I saw him come up through the Midwest League, and he mashed. He was hitting like 380, almost 400. He was hovering around 390 in the single A level for the Lansing Lugnuts, along with Vlad Jr. And this dude just tore the cover off the ball. And I remember sitting there with my great uncle. He's old, but he watches baseball all the time. And he said, look, he has season ticket holder to the South Bend Cubs. And he saw Bo Bichette play and said, this is the best hitter I've ever seen come through this league. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll definitely take note of that. 16-year-old kid. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So then he gets to the show, hits, 300, 311, like home runs, just hits the ball. And I'm like, this guy, he's right. This is a phenomenal hitter. But this year, 228, 4 bombs, and 380 at-bats. Like, something's off. And the whole basis behind this segment is these are players that you like. It's not just an underwhelming year. Like, where's their career go from here? And I wanted to say Bo Bichette because you truly do not know. Like, I don't think you can really just have a bad year like this. You see players lose their power, and it takes them a while to get it back. I mean, maybe he was dealing with some sort of injuries this year, but in terms of Bichette and what he's got for the future, I still believe in the kid, but it's like there's a contract coming, and you don't know if you pay him. Like Tim Anderson, he fell off out of nowhere. He had a bunch of power and lost it. I'm not saying that they're the same player, but I'm just saying, like, it raises the question about if teams should pay and what he can bring, because now what looked like a big contract and a lot of offensive production turned into what's he going to bring in 2025.
That is a great comp. I didn't even think about Tim Anderson. Now he's out of the league, right? Yeah, Bo Bichette, man. Bo Bichette is a real interesting case because his strikeout rate is the lowest it's been in his career, but his hard hit rate is the lowest it's ever been in his career. So I was thinking and brainstorming, I think it's a philosophy problem for him. I think there's something mechanically going on. Dylan, he's not hitting for power. You said it. He's only hit 4 home runs this year. It's the first time in his career he's had a negative WAR. He's never been known for his shortstop ability, but his bat usually made up for it. You know when people say, oh, the fall off of a player, oh, it needs to be studied. The fall off of Bo Bichette, I think, can be linked to him not just barreling the ball. He's not hitting for any power, which is why his numbers are so bad this year. And I want to point this out, but is it the coaching staff? Is it John Snyder in that crew in Toronto that's affecting this? That's what I'm leaning on right now. I think it's John Snyder. I think Bo Bichette still has that in him. We've seen that power before. And it's then it's gone.
I think if there's any coaching staff that's going to be torn down, it's definitely going to be the Blue Jays number 1, White Sox number 2. And I said that in order because the Blue Jays have disappointed for years now, and Schneider's gone. Like, they haven't had a good manager in a very, 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 very long time. Like, they need someone to come in there, whether Terry Francona comes out of retirement and goes there, just something. They need like a good manager there. Maybe Joe Madden finds his way back into a dugout. But, I mean, to your point, like, Bichette, like, this is just weird. Like, he was available in my Dynasty Fantasy League, which is like, you have prospects on your roster. He was just dropped because he's not worth keeping for 23 fantasy bucks next year. So, I mean, he's just it's a big question, and he's the one that just makes your head scratch all year. Like, you're scratching it all year, just wondering what went wrong.
Yeah, the talent is there, man. I'm going to give him another shot. Now, I don't know when his contract is up. Is it up after this year?
I think he's got one more.
He's got one more year? Okay, one more year of arbitration. So Blue Jays, give it another year. Get a whole new coaching staff. Get a new hitting coach in there, because this isn't like the Bo Bichette we've seen. So So that is a really interesting case. And the next guy we're going to talk about, we've talked about a few number one overall picks, and we're going to talk about another former number one overall pick, Spencer Torkelson. He's had an underwhelming career so far, not just this year. But Dylan, what do you make of Spencer Torkelson?
It's weird. Like he had so much expectations. He hit at every level. Then he gets to the show and he has power, but his strikeout numbers are insane. His on base is not there. His batting average is not there. Like I have serious questions about his future. And it's bad when the Tigers, who had division hopes this year, like they signed Flaherty, they made enough moves to where they thought they would be competent. They just sent him down to the minors. He's playing for the Mud Hens up in Toledo. So I think his career is definitely at a crossroads right here. I think long-term in the bigs, unless he figures something out with his on base, he's just going to be one of those 30 homer, 200 little Chris Carter guys. Like that might be who he is. Like a Chris Carter, Mark Reynolds. That might be his career. But I mean, it's sad because he was a number one pick. He's got so much power, but he just needs to find a way to get on base. And I think this year, the Tigers actually making that move when they had nothing else to lose, just sending him down, it just goes to show what they think about him.
Yeah, that was a very loud message. I mean, I've said this before. Torkelson, he's a home run or bust guy. And the problem with that is when you don't slug, you virtually add nothing to a ball club. And he's had nothing to the Tigers so far. And that's where Spencer Torkelson is at. And a comp I have for him, meaning this may need to be associated with Spencer here in the future. But at what point do the Tigers say, all right, enough of this. He's somebody else's problem? And my comp for that is Jared Kelenic.
Wow.
The Mariners, he wasn't getting it done with the Mariners. The Mariners, hey, Braves, he's your problem now. At what point do we see that?
What teams do you think would take a shot on him? Maybe like a Marlins.
Yeah. That team that's not going anywhere.
I think the Cubs might. They could throw a trial at him, DH him for a bit. But I mean, that's a good idea. I never thought about a potential trade. He might be on the move this offseason. And if the Astros wanted to take a shot, I think they could get him too.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it's just the change of scenery can change a lot for him. Who knows? All right. Moving on, we're staying within the Central, but we're going over to the NL. Down there by the Allegheny River, Pittsburgh Pirates, another underwhelming player this year, Ke'Bryan Hayes. What's up with Ke'Bryan Hayes?
You remember in our offseason what we said about Ke'Bryan Hayes?
What did we say about Ke'Bryan?
I picked him as a breakout, and you said he'd hit 20 homers. We swung and missed hard on Ke'Bryan Hayes.
We did.
We swung and missed harder than he's been doing all year. I mean, whew.
It's been bad.
Brutal, man. If he just hit 280, this team's probably leading the Central.
He hit 280. My goodness.
Like in years past, he's been hovering around 270-ish. Like he can hit 270. He doesn't have a ton of power. Maybe 14, 15 homers.
I was reaching for 20, man.
And he's got so much, great defense, an elite defender. But you're hitting under 240. The power's not there. You're not a good player, man. You're just not good.
Go ahead.
Went out. They got De La Cruz. They're trying to improve their roster in terms of hitters. But if Ke'Bryan Hayes just hit the baseball this year, you're looking at a whole different team.
Very different team. I mean, Ke'Bryan Hayes is having career lows in just about every significant batting category. Not only that, he has the lowest OPS among qualified hitters. Dylan, he's the worst hitter in the league. Close, too. Among qualified hitters. He's not getting on base. He's not hitting for average. He's not known. I mean, he's never been known for his power, but all the power that he does have has been zapped. What keeps him on the field is his Gold Glove level defense. You pointed to it. But the Pirates, they're getting nothing from Hayes offensively. And that's a little surprising to me this year.
Do you think – I think they'd try him out at shortstop? O'Neal Cruz has a rocket, but he's questionable with the glove.
Yeah.
Wonder if they switched the two. He's 6'7". He could play third.
He could play third.
I don't know if Key's ever played shortstop, but he's a great defender.
He's a vacuum. He's a human vacuum. He's really good. That'll be interesting to see. I do not know. I don't know. I'm just surprised. I can't believe we said, yeah, he was your breakout player, and I said he'd hit 20 bombs.
Right.
Here 7 months later. Absolutely insane. But we're going to stick within the NL Central for our next and last underwhelming player. We're going to go with Pete Crow Armstrong. Dylan, he's your cubby. He's your guy here. What do you make of Pete Crow Armstrong in his short MLB career so far? Or I guess this season.
I mean, he still hasn't hit. There's nights. I mean, almost every night he's going over. And when he does get his hit, it's like a triple, 2 bags, a walk. Like he's stealing bases. He's just electric. But I don't know how far it can get him. I truly do not know what player we're getting here. He's the fastest runner in baseball according to like all metrics. So he's faster than Yelly De La Cruz and everyone else. He's the fastest player in baseball. He plays an elite defense, just like we talked about with Hayes.
Very good.
But he can hit at AAA enough, about 270, 280 around there. And homers, he hits bombs, but not in the show. He's hitting right around 200. He doesn't like to drop bunts down. I wish he would utilize that tool more. But I look at this player and I look at another comp. This is a comp that I hope it turns out to be, because if so, then the Cubs are sitting on gold. If not, it's another Corey Patterson, which is not – don't want to relive those days. Look at what Jarren Duran did when he came in the league. Jarren Duran, low average.
He was a mess.
You didn't know what he was doing.
He was a mess. Missing pop flies in center field. He was a mess.
Right. And I know Pete will always have that defense on him, but offensively, it took Duran 2 to 3 years and consistent playing time and belief from a manager to say, all right, you're going to be that guy. And this year, Duran is all over the place. 297, All-Star game, All-Star MVP, right? Home run. Like, he's all over the place, and he's making good plays. Maybe on the bright side, I think at the peak, what you're getting here at Pete Crow is a Jarren Duran this year for the future of Pete Crow. But if I'm being honest, I don't know what to gauge on in this year that he's had so far offensively.
When it comes to Pete Crow Armstrong, you got to give him time. This is his first full big league season, right? Give him time. Give him time. It's not, with some guys, it just doesn't click ASAP. And I think with a lot of teams, they have that microwave mindset. They want their guys to come up and do it now. And I think with the Cubs, they're not going anywhere this year. Give it another year with Pete Crow Armstrong. He showed power in AAA. Hit 20 bombs before he got called up in 2023. We know the power is there. But I think the question is, can he adjust to MLB pitching? Can that power adjust to MLB pitching? And if it can't, it may be time to adjust his game. Like you said, maybe time to be laying down more bunts. Maybe time to become more of a slap hitter, working the ball the opposite way, using his speed in more effective ways to help the Cubs and be a leadoff in that lineup. So I think that's what it all comes down to. Give him time, let him get his feet wet in MLB. I would give him another year. And maybe if he can't adjust to what he was used to in AAA, it's time to adjust his playing style. And that would be the final shot for me.
Yeah, so I agree.
All right. Well, moving on to our last topic today, MLB announced that there's going to be a game at Bristol Motor Speedway between the Cincinnati Reds and the Atlanta Braves. I absolutely love this from MLB. Dylan, I'm going to let you take a shot at this first. But what do you think of this?
I love the idea. I love the way that the Major League Baseball is finally starting to adapt to the other leagues. You know, the NBA, they play their preseason or whatever. They go all around the world. Like, they play different games in different places. The NFL, they're going to Mexico, London, all over the place, right? And now in the Major League Baseball, they're doing these fun things, finally. They're making baseball fun. Like, we've already seen them go to the Field of Dreams a couple times. They did the Rickwood Field this year, And now they're doing Bristol Motor Speedway, which is really cool. I'm very curious about the dimensions. I kind of hope they go polo ground style here and block off the sides about 200. You imagine Matt Olson hitting in that? He's going to hit 5 bombs that game. It's going to be like MLB The Show 23 all over again. But no, I think it's good for the game adapting, expanding, and just making it more fun.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely love this. This is one of those things where it's so out there. It's so bizarre. It's so nobody in the baseball universe would ever consider this that I love it. I love it. Kudos to Rob Manfred for making this happen. This is a really cool idea. I never would have thought you could mix baseball and racing. And here we are in 2024. We're going to get that between the Reds and the Braves. I'm super excited to see. I'm super excited to see those dimensions. Like you said, it could look like the polo grounds. I have no idea. But regardless, my eyes are going to be tuned in. And with that, you get eyes on the game of baseball. It's so exotic. It's such a different experience that the game of baseball hasn't seen. You're going to get eyeballs on that game, on whether it's on Fox or ESPN. And that's what's most important. And I got to give kudos to Rob Manfred for making that happen.
I don't want to start a spiel. We'll save it for next week. Okay. I have a lot of positive things to say about Rob Manfred.
We'll save it for next week.
That'll be our tease.
We'll save it for next week. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. We appreciate all the support. If you do not already, subscribe to our YouTube, like our videos here. Go follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. We got a bunch of content on there for you. But we'll be back to you next week. We appreciate all the support. See you guys.